You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa Lacan. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about urban issues. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community with Dr. Lisa Lacan. Hello, my urbanites. Welcome to Urban Twos for Change Network. You have entered the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa Lacan. Welcome. And you're not dreaming. It is Thursday. Yes, it's not Tuesday. It is a Thursday. So, Curtis, why are we here today on Thursday?
Well, it's sort of a freestyle Thursday tonight. So we just got a mixed bag of things to talk about. We just want to go over a little bit of what happened this past week and some of the high points and recap a little bit what happened before we go into the rest of the show tonight. So,
all right.
He started off things very interesting this week.
Starting actually last Thursday, 7 days ago, we found out and learned that the relationship guru, Kevin Samuels, he died of a heart attack. So that was like, oh my gosh. So he's this podcaster who has 1.4 million subscribers. And it was like, he's only 56, 57 years old. And he talks about relationships, and how he died was interesting with this woman. And I'm not going to even talk about the running joke. But anyway, condolences to his family, because, he does have a daughter, mother, and I know it was very hard for her this Mother's Day with the death of her son. So that was the first thing that happened. And then what else happened? What else?
So on Monday, we did our election special, like our preview to the election special on Monday, where we interviewed James Ward and we talked to a potential council candidate.
Yes.
And then we also did.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, we did our first test of the Essex Times news segment as well, where we discussed some local news, like the Orange Fire and things that happened.
That is correct. So we actually interviewed 3 candidates for city council position in Orange, New Jersey. That was Sharif Williams. We spoke with James Ward, as well as Quintavia Hilbert. And she actually won that night. And it was our first night doing like election coverage. And we were, calling as the votes came in, which was very exciting. Now tonight is East Orange's, I believe, State of the City address. And then in June, we have another election coming up. So we have to keep our eyes out for that and pretty much do the same thing. And then go ahead.
A little part of the election news from that Tuesday night. So that was our normal Tuesday night show that we did. And then we covered the part of the election. But some people won, like Quintavia Hilbert, who we had interviewed that night at the beginning of the show. And then by the end of the show, when we were looking at the results, we could tell she was already going to win. Yeah. So that was really interesting. But one of the elections that we did discuss that night was between Dupree Kelly and his opponent in that seat for the West Ward.
Right.
But
the West Ward. And you said they have a runoff.
Yes, they're going to have a runoff and have a special election. So Dupree Kelly, for everybody, if anyone doesn't know, Dupree Kelly is also known as Do It All from Lords of the Underground, legendary hip hop group from back in the day in North New Jersey. And like I said, he's running for city council in the West Ward. And it was very close. There was probably about 3 or 4 candidates in there. So maybe the threshold was that nobody got over 50%. So the 2 top candidates have to have a special runoff election.
Wow.
That may be, why they have to have that runoff, because
right.
They couldn't tell which one of them won.
The other one, which was close, which is the section where the Portuguese section.
Yeah. That's the East. That's the East Ward. That's the East Ward.
The East Ward, Silva and Campos, very
right.
close. The last I saw, Silva was winning, or he won by 42 votes.
Woo. 42 votes.
So I don't know if they're going to do a recount. I don't know, but I don't know how it goes in Newark, but 42 votes.
Right. So that was on Tuesday. And then yesterday was Wednesday, and you actually were at a special presentation yesterday. I wanted to find out about what happened. So just tell us what happened with that yesterday.
That was beautiful. So I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and we have youth auxiliary groups. So I was a guest speaker for the induction ceremony, and the young ladies aged, I think 9 to 17 were present. So I had to do something inspirational for them. And my message was reject the rejection, meaning that you will get rejected in life, but you have to understand and learn how to reject the rejection. So I just told them that basically there are pretty much 2 ways you can reject the rejection. The first way is to say, you know what, there's something else out there better for me, so I'm going to just continue going. Or the second one is, if you know that it is your purpose to do it and you have to do it, keep going for it. And I told them about my story when I was actually rejected from Hampton University.
And how did you feel when that happened? You didn't give up. You didn't give up.
I did not give up. I persevered. I did not give up, to the point, and I said this to them. This is the first time I shared this in a public forum. I had to interview with the Dean of Students, and I was only 17 years old. And the Dean of Students ripped me to shreds because, I waited till the last moment to register or to apply to the school. So that's why I did not get accepted. And he just ripped me to shreds. Oh, and I was crying in the office, and he said, okay, I'm going to let you in only if you do like pre-college or whatever. And if you don't cut pre-college, don't even think about coming back. Don't even think about applying to this school. And as I was leaving, he said, and another thing, I don't like accepting students from Washington, D.C. public schools because they have poor GPAs and they don't graduate on time. I was like, oh my God. So yes, but look at me now.
Right. Full-fledged doctor of psychology.
Full-fledged doctor. And then next week, I'm being honored by Rutgers University as a distinguished alum.
Yeah.
Because I did not reject the rejection.
Right. You kept going. You didn't give up.
I kept it going. So yeah,
you know what?
So very busy week. Yes.
And you know what? With that, we're going to get into tonight's guest, but you just reminded me of something important and something else that we did this week. So let's take a quick break. I'm going to show you. Let's take a quick break. It's about never giving up.
Okay. All right.
All right. And when we come back, we're going to come back with our guests for tonight.
Absolutely.
So I think what you told the young students, and how old were they at the
they were between 9 and 17.
Okay, so they were young girls, and they benefit from messages of never giving up and keeping going, right?
Up. Absolutely. Okay, let's go. All right. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. Are we up? Are we live?
One second.
Okay.
Well, almost. Actually, this is a little glitch with StreamYard because it usually mutes your audio on those sides. But let's get into this.
All right.
Let's get into this.
So, tonight in the Urban Suite, we are discussing the nuances of world traveling with independent filmmaker Shubra Vandit and the aesthetics of beauty with skin wellness specialist Seema from Mumbai, India. She is live in India right now. So we're going to patch her in because it's like, what time is it? Like, what? Hi, Seema. How are you? Can she hear me?
Yes. But there's a little bit of a delay, I think.
Well, of course, she's all the way in India.
And it's the morning time. Like she's in a different. Hold on. Seema, check your mic because check. Make sure you're not muted. Make sure you're not muted on your phone. Because I heard her before. Yeah, she's gonna.
We are here before it goes live. That's how I'm telling you about StreamYard. I'm calling you out.
Right.
StreamYard down the toilet.
Well, we find something. Let me see. Seema, can you hear us?
See, and we were just talking, right?
Yes, we just talked to her like 2 minutes ago. We just talked to her 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Until we figure out what's going on with Seema, right? Let's do this. Let's go beyond the curtain again. Let's go beyond the curtain again, and let's see if we can bring out Shubra, and he'll explain how we even met Seema, right? So that's gonna be.
How's it going, everyone?
Welcome to the Urban Suite.
Yay! Thank you. It's such an honor being over here.
Oh, nice. Glad you could make it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So you know what? Okay, so tell my audience is called the Urbanite.
Okay.
And wherever you go, I don't care if you travel to Africa, if you go to the continent of Asia, if you come to America, South America, there's always an urban community. And I always say in the urban community, you find love, you find kindness, you find peace. But then also you find poverty, you find sickness, you find all these things in the urban community. And that's why I love the urban community, because we're so diverse. It's a very diverse population. And You're here in the Urban Suite with us. So again, welcome and thank you so very much. So tell my urbanites, my audience, about who you are.
Hey, urbanites. Wow, quite a few things, but professionally, I'm a screenwriter, film director, producer, originally from Mumbai, India. I was born in London, brought up in India. I did my education mainly in Europe. So that's who I am. I travel around, and it has always been a dream to travel around and meet people and learn about cultures and music and films and the way people live and incorporate that into my films, both documentary and fiction.
Wow, wonderful.
So
Now
that's
Seema
what
is
I do.
back up on the screen.
Right. Yeah.
So Seema, I see your mic is turned off.
Hold on, I got it. Let me check
You
it out.
got it?
All right, let's see. Yes. Yes, she's there because I can hear her fan.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful. I'm like, hi, Seema. Welcome into the Urban Suite. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
You landed into the Urban Suite. All right. Now we got a party going on. All right.
She said good morning. You notice she said good morning, right? But it's actually good evening for us.
Right.
Good morning to
right.
you. And good
Because
evening.
it's 4:30 your
US.
time, 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, a little bit later.
That's
Yeah,
right.
4:45.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, man, that's something else. So Seema, I know it's 4:30 in the morning, so I'm not going to keep you long, but tell us about who you are and your products and your skin wellness. And because we saw, I guess earlier, was that your studio, your salon,
That's
tell us
right.
about, yes.
So, I started as a dreadlock artist. And before that, I was into advertising. That's another story. So, so this whole fascination with dreadlocks and braids and, all kind of, the African culture, I was drawn towards that. And then I, learned how to make all these things and then started, my studio. And then I got into skin and wellness, which was a perfect combination for hair and skin that goes hand in hand together. And then I became a hand poke tattoo artist as well. And now I'm pursuing to become a body piercing artist as well. So I'm just not stopping.
Right.
Hold up. She said a hand poke tattoo artist. What is that? What is a hand poke tattoo artist?
That's a stick and poke art. It's very ancient, and you don't use the machine, but you use your force of your hand.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
So I do that, and I have got like quite a few clients and many more coming up.
Does that hurt? Does that hurt?
A wee bit.
I'm like, I saw them like, oh my goodness, that must hurt, because they have these intricate designs. They do it on the back, they do it on the all over, and it's beautiful. But I'm like, they're there all day.
Yes, it takes a whole day. I mean, if the machine tattoo takes 15 minutes to finish, so hand poke will take about 45. So
yeah,
that's the difference.
Yeah.
So
it reminded me of actually being in an African braid shop when I had hair. Like you're in there all like I'm like, oh my gosh.
So
yes.
How did you actually start the business? Like, how did you actually start the salon? Like, and then now that you, I guess, maybe explain to us how you met Shubra as well.
Shubra, I know Shubra since 12 years. We've known each other since then. And, we're friends since forever. Maybe past life, we'll have to check on that. Too. Yeah, so we just, met like in between pandemic, right? Like that was 2020. And that's when, we were talking about ideas, like how do we do it? And, since he's a filmmaker and he's got another perspective, and, I have another perspective, but then, we kind of gel so well with our thoughts. And ideas and everything, and it just merged beautifully. And that's when we kind of started. We decided that let's just do this. Let's just do this, and we set up our own studio, and then here we are with you guys.
Wow.
So when did the wardrobe become part of it?
Say that again.
The wardrobe, like when did you start doing the apparel and the clothing?
Wardrobe I've been doing since many years, and it was just I was so busy that I had like so many layers in Rastafari as well as Aura now. So wardrobe was kind of almost taking a backstage for me. But then when Shubra came in and he's like, no, this cannot be a backstage. This has to be in forefront, and we have to bring it back in. And that's when he kind of pumped this whole steroids inside Rastafari.
Now you mentioned Rastafari. What is the concept behind that?
When I was traveling to the mountains in Himachal, that's my favorite place, basically. And that's when I was like, I should have a name. I mean, I should have a name. It can't be like just Seema. I mean, people should connect, and not only nationally but globally, people should connect to this name. And somehow I think I might just find it a little insane, but it just came from there. It was just the universe telling me like, okay, this name will be Rastafari.
And I love that. And the website for those that are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, that can't actually see, is Rasta, Rasta, Fairy, FAIRY.com. That's Rastafari.com. So you can go to the website, take a look at the fashions. That's Rastafari.com. And then what are your beauty treatments that you offer?
See, I offer all kind of skin treatments. You have like fine lines and pigmentation and sunburn. So this is a normal problem that people go through their daily lives, but they don't realize that what's happening with their skin. The damages that's happening because of the sun and also the stress level in the city. So, we need to treat that, and, if we take care of our skin well, then, everything is good.
Right. Now, I have a problem with my lips.
Oh, I'll have to see your lips then.
No, right. I do, because I'm a jogger, and I jog outdoors in the winter, and it's very cold, and my lips get such a beating. Like, what?
It gets dried out?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to have certain routine for your for your lips. Like night, you have to apply some moisturizer if you can, and sleep overnight, and then morning again you have to follow the same routine, and ice it a little bit, and then moisturize it. And you have to keep doing this because winters is usually killing. It basically destroys the skin. So you have to be very, very careful. And
yes, my lips take a beating. Like, oh my gosh. It gets to the point sometimes they're so cracked. It's like, oh, geez.
So, I mean, what I can suggest you is Vaseline right now, but then once I see your skin, then I can tell you like what kind of treatment that we can give.
Now, I saw something that you put also dye on lips. Like,
I do lip blushing as well.
What is that? Lip blushing? What is that? What exactly?
Lip blushing is basically, it's like, semi-permanent makeup. Like PMU, it's pretty famous now. People are getting used to this whole procedure where you don't have to wear lipstick, once you have the color on your lips. So you just kind of put some kind of gel or gloss, and you're just ready to go out. And similarly, there is a BB glow treatment where there's a layer of makeup on your face. It stays till a month and a half on your face. Yeah, so I mean, you sleep with the makeup on and you wake up.
Wow. And nothing's on your pillowcase.
No. So you're just gonna look pretty all the time.
Oh my God.
Hello, I'm pretty. Oh, pretty. Oh my God, so pretty.
Oh God, I can't imagine that. Oh my goodness.
That's
And
new
also
technology.
microblading for the eyebrows. So, people with less hair growth, or they want a particular shape, or they want their eyebrows to look, a little thickish. So we do microblading to the eyebrows. So that's again like a semi-permanent makeup, like a tattoo. It stays till a year and a half tops. And
wow.
Then, yeah. So you don't have to worry about, your eyebrow getting unshapely, and, because that shape just stays. So
wow. You said a year and a half. Now, how much does the eyebrow stuff cost? How much is that?
See, in India, the cost is absolutely different. So, like, for example, microblading here will cost you like 30,000 rupees. So that would be 500, like little less than $500.
Okay.
For 2 sittings.
Mm-hmm.
And you need sittings basically for microblading and lip blushing. Both require 2 sittings minimum. And for BB Glow, you just need 1 sitting and you're just ready to go. But there's a downtime for like 2 days. You just have to relax a little bit at home. You cannot go out in the sun when you do a BB Glow treatment on your face. So because those are little invasive kind of a procedure where you use those micro needles to kind of put the makeup in and kind of brush the makeup inside your skin, the epidermis level. So yeah.
I have a test for my urban nights, and I think I've asked this question before. What is the largest organ on our body?
Right.
The skin. Yeah. Come on now, urban nights. Y'all gotta wake up. Come on now. Wake up. Y'all have to be the smartest group of folks out there by now. The skin.
Right. Yeah. Right? So you got to take care. Right?
You have to take care of the skin. And I know for me, because of my age, hormonally, my skin is changing. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's not as, as I was when I was 20 or 30, or, it's just changing. So we really appreciate, the skincare treatment and things of that nature that you have, that I know here in the States, we're not really used to. We do other measures. We have fillers, we have Botox, we have, we have these things that we use here. We do have the threading, because I do get my eyebrows threaded. I do have the threading. Yeah, I go, I do that. So, which is a little painful. Yes. But sometimes
the things you do for beauty, right?
I'm about to say.
The things you gotta do for beauty sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's definitely very interesting. Right?
Yes. And a quick question before we let you go, because it's very early. With the lipstick, if I want another color, can I put another shade on top of that?
Yes, you can. I mean,
okay.
Of course you can. Lip blushing, I mean, you can go, lighter on your, if there's any kind of pigmentation, like for example, your lips are darker, so you can make it lighter shade, and then, you can apply whatever shade you want to on top. So there is no comb that, that you're stuck with this color for a year. I mean, you can use any color.
Okay, because that was my, sometimes I like changing my lipstick based on my top color.
Yeah, so you can. So it's just that when you wipe off the lipstick, you'll have, that
it will still look pretty underneath.
Yeah.
All right. Curtis, do you have any other questions for Seema?
No, I think that's it. Thank you for coming in. Matter of fact, I do have one question. If you could tell us your Instagram handle so that people can maybe follow you on Instagram.
On Instagram, I'm Rastafari Official. Okay. And my skin page is Aura Skin Wellness. So which is AURASKIN, and wellness WELLNESS. So Aura Skin Wellness and Rastafari Official. Rastafari is the spelling that you can see, and official.
So when they go to the
Yes.
website, they can see about the clothes, the
Yeah,
salon,
they can see
skin wellness,
my
everything.
entire work. Yeah, my whole history is lying on Instagram. They can see
Nice.
my hair work. They can see my tattoo, my skin, everything that I do.
Wow.
Everything that I do.
All right. Well, thank you,
Oh
Seema. I
man,
know it's
thank
real
you so
early over
much.
there. We don't want to keep you
Yes,
out of your
thank
routine
you.
too bad.
Thank you
So hopefully
so
this was a
very
little
much.
bit better. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you
Oh
so
gosh,
much.
thank you for being our guest. Absolutely. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good evening.
All
Bye-bye.
right. You have a good morning.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, Shubra. Oh my gosh.
Right, right.
Again.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to meet her in person.
It'll be really good. It's going to be fun, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that she can travel to the States sometime soon.
Yeah. Or even if my husband and I, we love to travel, and we're
Absolutely.
supposed to be
You're
going to
most
Africa in
welcome.
December. So, I don't know what's happening, but how did you get the traveling bug? How did that happen?
I'll have to do some digging myself, but I'll tell you instances where something clicked, right? I think when I was still in college, in undergrads, I used to travel locally, right? My parents were super protective, right? In India, it's very common to have parents who are super protective, but my parents took it to the next level. Like my dad used to drop me to school and pick me up till I was in 12th grade, right? Because he was super, super, super overprotective.
Oh.
And so the moment I entered undergrads, it was like, all right, I'm going to travel. I'm going to do everything by myself. And it was it was kind of freedom that way. And I used to travel to nearby cities, go to music concerts, and I would love to explore these lanes where just wander around. And I think it was 2014 when I first traveled abroad to Singapore. And I stayed at a hostel, and I met people from the hostel, and there was this German couple that I bumped into at the hostel, and we got along pretty well. And these two people had quit their jobs in Germany, and they had been traveling the world for the past 5-6 months, and they've been to Africa, they've been to places in Europe, and they had plans of coming to India. And I said, you know what, if you come to India, you're most welcome to stay at my place. Guess what? 6 months later, they're at my place. And it was such a pleasure to have them, to show them around my city and to learn from their travels. And I was like, wow, that's the way it should be. This kind of merges into my idea of abundance as well, that you should be able to do what you wish to do. You should not have restrictions put on yourself.
Right.
So I always tell myself that if I feel like having a pizza, I should be able to fly to Italy and Naples for the weekend, have a pizza.
Oh, okay now. All right now. I see.
Right. Because why put restrictions? Why do you want to be in a situation where you say, oh no, that's not possible, or that takes too much money? And you should be able to say that, yes, I'm capable enough to earn that kind of money. I'm capable enough to travel around. And
right. That's called options. You have options.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just about pizzas. It's
right. Yeah. No.
Absolutely.
Options. Right. It's options. Well, how has traveling been since COVID?
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually gotten out of the country.
Wow.
Yeah. I was scheduled to be in Germany. Right. This is an interesting story. I was in Germany in 2020 March. Right. I was there for the film festival. It was going well. I was with my producer. We used to hang out at his office. And in a day or two, it was literally a matter of day or two, and things started to get a little serious, where there were talks of a possible lockdown. Right. And this morning I wake up at 8 o'clock, and I see the news that Denmark is in lockdown. Right in my head, and I'm like, Denmark is literally walking distance.
Right. Okay.
Everything is so close by.
Right.
And I was like, if I get stuck, I don't know how long I'm going to be stuck.
Oof.
I called my producer and I'm like, listen, I'm going to be a little late. I need to catch up with my family in India and see what's happening. And at 10:30, I call him up. Listen, I'm flying back to India, man. And I fly back, and 2 days later, Germany is in lockdown.
Wow.
So yeah, that was,
you just escaped.
Just
got out.
Absolutely.
Wow.
No, it was
Wow.
I was there, and so yeah, it's been a little more than 2 years since I stepped out.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Now, you were at a film festival,
right?
So you are an independent filmmaker. Tell us about your documentaries.
Wow. So these documentaries, it's so interesting. I started with my father, who was also a documentary filmmaker. And I just grew up watching him discuss ideas at home, discuss music. So my grandfather was a music composer in India.
Oh.
And it was very common to discuss music and to listen to different tracks. And growing up, I was motivated to attend film festivals and music festivals, and if it had to travel to a different place, it was motivated that I do that. It was promoted that I do that because both my parents loved listening to music, and they would always talk about how that shapes you, and that's one of the reasons why and how I met Kurt as well. Hip hop. So that's
right.
How it happened. From working with my father, I wanted to go to Europe because my dad had studied at the BBC in UK, and there was this subliminal thought that I should go to Europe and study over there, and Spain just happened. I'm like, hey, let's look something up in Spain for no reason at all. I was like, I've not looked at Spain as a country. Let's look up what's happening in Spain. And this production company kept popping up with every search that I did. I thought maybe that's a sign. So I wrote to them, and they had this intensive kind of residency program of 1 month where people from around the world come together and they make 3 short films in a span of 1 month.
Oh.
And you do not know anything about who the subjects of the documentary will be, how it's going to pan out, none of that. I flew down to Spain, in Barcelona, and there were 12 other people, including me, and we just started looking for subjects that had a social and a cultural impact in their works, and we started approaching them, and that's how those 3 documentaries, we had around 10 or 12 shortlisted, and out of those 12 we decided to do these 3, which are Let's Talk, Street Talk, and Paula.
Now, are these focused on marginalized populations, like disenfranchised community?
True.
Is that where your heart is? That's where your passion point is?
That's one of the things that I've always thought, that especially people who are persevering, who are trying to make themselves better or trying to make the world better, and not everybody has the means or the knowledge of how to reach out to a global audience or a bigger audience. And I, as a filmmaker, that's my core strength, to bring those things out. And I do want to help people with a motive, an idea, a direction, and help them possibly reach funding or reach other people who'll be interested in that, or other people who resonate or need that service, or so that has always been a motivation. And I think that roots from my father as well.
Wow.
He too used to make such kind of films.
Wow. Now, what are you working on now? What project are you working on now?
Right. So right now I've got quite a few things going on. So talking in the documentary side, there was a film that I was working with my father just before he passed away. It's called Where Does Home Lie? and we were shooting in India. So that obviously got left halfway after his passing. So I'm gonna reconnect with that and take that forward and see that project through. Apart from that, I'm currently editing a short, a movement aesthetic short called Metamorphosis. It's about the journey from darkness to light, and how you yourself motivate and inspire yourself to take that journey. So that's the idea of Metamorphosis. And a couple of projects in Europe that I have been writing, and recently something that has cropped up in the US as well. So I'm still in the very early stages of writing that. So let's see how. Yeah, one of
Well,
the things sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
No, tell us about that. But then after you tell us about that, I wanted to go to like your reels so people could see
Right.
some of your work a little bit.
Right. So there's this one particular film that I'm definitely very interested in, that I'm writing. Is about East-West Berlin from the 1960s, and it's a story of somebody who literally ziplined from East Germany to West Germany with his family, and that's a very inspiring story. So that's something I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Now I have to say, I've been through Germany twice, whatever, and it's always cloudy. Does the sun ever come out? Like,
it does.
I'm like, what the heck? And everybody seems so unhappy and depressed. I'm like, I can't. No, this is not for me.
But the sun does come out, and it gets hot over there.
Really?
And I'm from Mumbai, and I'm saying it's hot, so it's hot.
Wow.
Well, look, let's take a look at the reel, but I definitely do want to talk to Shubra about some his traveling adventures, and maybe some interesting things that have happened in all of these different hostels and stuff like that. Because there's movies made about things like that.
Right.
So
I know. God.
See if what that's really like. Okay.
I actually stayed in one. Woo.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Wait a minute. Okay, here we go.
Wow. Now tell us about that.
Wow. This in all honesty, this is an old reel. I'm yet to put together quite a few things. So this mainly has stuff from my documentaries, and one of the fiction film is Las Ventanas, Windows. So the scene with the girl and the guy is from the fiction piece, the short film. And the rest of it is from the documentaries. I'll tell you one interesting thing about, that Lisa, you inspired me about, is about perseverance and not giving up. So this is one of the films which is called Street Talk, where the reel opens with the scene of the sea. That's the short film. So we had been in touch with the subject for, let's say, 3 weeks or so. And the story of this man is that he was a banker, right? In a very well-to-do banker. He had a swimming pool in his home. That's how well-to-do he was. And from there, he went to being homeless because of the crisis after 2008 in Barcelona, right? So he refused to, ask for alms, and instead he said, "I'm going to start teaching people Spanish in the parks, and I'm going to make my living out of that." And So when he had actually first moved to the park to live over there, people thought that he's an undercover agent because he had this vibe of, a rich man sort of thing.
Right.
So that was his overcome. Like he had to overcome all those prejudices of that, community that was living over there, thought that they were under danger because he was joining in. And he used to talk about how his bed, his mattress used to get stolen, so he had to keep that secure and stuff. Now the thing is that we have recorded the audio. That was the process. We first record the audio and then we go shoot the B-roll and we do the actual interview. And the day of when we're supposed to start shooting him, this is a week before we're supposed to release the movies, he calls in saying that he's not really ready to go public with his homelessness. So he says he won't be on camera. So now our question is, do we drop this film? Because if we don't have it on camera, how do we proceed? And we were not willing to drop the film. It was a good topic. It needed to be told. But again, we could not persuade him to be on screen because that was his choice. Right. So we decided we let the camera be his eyes, and we decided to go POV.
I love that.
So everything you see is actually from his eyes.
Right. Oh, which is, to me, is better.
Right. It turned out to be better.
Yes, that's actually better.
Right.
Yeah, actually it's better because it looks like he is the one in the driver's seat and he's really
right.
Wow.
And that was in filmmaking, that was a very interesting exercise because now I was in touch with the producers and they were like, you got to do everything like you're that person. And so when you walk with the camera, my idea is to try and keep the camera as stable as I can. Now it was to make it as normal as it would be.
Right, just walking. Right. Mm-hmm.
And then the film starts with him waking up on the street. So now it was like, okay, when somebody wakes up, how is their head like this? How does it come up? And do we get up straight? So no, we look down and we, take support and we get up. So the camera was doing all of those things.
Oh, I love that.
And that just helped with the sensitivity of, making it real.
Wow.
That's something I've always, that I realized working in documentary and in fiction is that in documentary, everything is real, right? The story is real, everything is real. It is your job as a filmmaker to make it believable through the editing, and to make it not believable, to make it entertaining, to make it captivating.
Right.
And in fiction, it's all made up, and it's your role as a filmmaker to make it believable.
Right.
So
absolutely
complementary things, and it was great. Because this documentary was in a way fiction because we were working with the camera as his POV based on his audio.
Right. Absolutely. What or who directors have you learned from? Like who inspired you?
Right. I think one of the biggest inspirations for me is Martin Scorsese.
Oh.
Yeah. I absolutely love him. There are a lot of films. I think there are two films that. So Martin Scorsese always talks about, finding something that speaks to you, right? To understand yourself better and to understand films and your profession and all of that. Back in 2011, I attended the Mumbai Film Festival for the first time, and there were two films that particularly spoke to me. One was Once Upon a Time in America by Sergio Leone. I think it's a film from back in the 60s, from the 70s or the 80s. And the other one is a movie from 1927, a German film called Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. And these two are very different epochs, right? And something spoke to me that it felt real. Both of them were fiction, but they felt so real, and it spoke to me. So that moves me definitely. So I would say these three influences have been very big. Apart from a ton of other people, right?
I wanted to know if the making films, is that what has helped you to travel? Like, is the process of doing these documentaries been part of the reason and the impetus? Because like, you're not just going on vacation when you're going to Barcelona.
Right.
You're actually going there to work and stuff. Like, you're not just hanging out at a hostel or something,
Right.
potentially waiting to get murdered or something like that in one of these movies. Like, have you ever been scared of that off topic? I mean, you never
Right.
worried about traveling by yourself or nothing like that? Like,
I'll tell you what, I've been a little I'll tell you two things. I've always been a little pushing myself out of my comfort zone sort of person, and I've always, especially since Singapore, the more I did that, the more I realized that every time I push myself out of my comfort zone, life gifted me with a surprise, and super serendipitous surprise, just amazing things. And so I think the idea of also living in a hostel is to put myself out there and to meet people. One can, sometimes the hostels and a hotel is similarly priced. So, you might just get a private room for a little more. But sometimes I do choose to stay in a hostel so I can, learn from other travelers, meet them, see what's happening in their life. Because it's a very different thing to sit across somebody up a table and talk over a coffee and be in the same room where they sleep and have like a chat before you go to sleep. Because that time I think people are a little more vulnerable, they're a little more open to just, it's a shared place, you just chat about stuff, you end up having different conversations, and that's, I'm gonna circle back to that, two of those incidences where I learned, I mean, there were gems that were literally showered on me by different people from their experiences. And that's one. The other being, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead.
I think that films have definitely also enabled me to travel. I mean, they have definitely motivated me to go to different places, and it's almost like, if I want to sound scientific, it's almost like an anthropological study.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It sounds like you're doing research. It sounds like you're doing research.
Right.
Societal, psychological research on people. Like you're studying society and stuff.
Those guys slept at 10. No. Well, I'll tell you what. When I'll tell you this from Spain. You travel, they have these paellas, which is like a rice dish, right? And their foods very varied. And you travel 5 kilometers along the coast, and the way they prepare that food changes completely, right? And so look at that. You're literally 5 kilometers away, and somebody is having an almost, a different sort of culture being in the same country.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? It's the same country. Things have changed a little bit just by that much distance. Yet, a heartbreak in India is the same as a heartbreak in Japan, as a heartbreak in US.
Right.
Having a child in US versus have a child in India. So we are still so similar around the world with our emotions, but we are still so different in the small things.
Right.
And definitely that's something that fascinates me.
Wow. Now, what is your concept of home?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to get into.
You know what? I was at the Cannes Film Festival, and we were having dinner, and there was a table of like people from Italy, from London, from Iceland. I was from India, US, people from everywhere. And the first thing you ask is, "Oh, where are you from?" Right? And so for me, it's a little tricky because there's a part of me that identifies with UK because I was born over there. There's a big part that identifies with India because I lived over there for the longest time. Then I lived in Europe, in different places, and I grew up listening to hip hop music, which is primarily US. So when someone asks that, it's kind of a difficult answer to say that this is one place that I'm from, because all these places, all these people have contributed to become who I am, right? And And to even say that you're a global citizen is kind of stripping off everything, because then you don't have any identity. It's like just saying I'm from Earth, right?
Right. I'm everything. But
Right.
You're from Earth.
Right.
You're an Earthling.
Right. You're right.
So it's always been a thing that, you know, there are parts of the culture that I identify with in India and I absolutely adore. Things from US, things from Spain, parts from Germany. So the idea is, where does home lie? Right? And I'm gonna give you a longer answer to this. I was in Bulgaria, right? And there was this Indian person who was helping me out meet some filmmakers over there. And I used to go to his, he had a restaurant back then. I used to go to his restaurant every evening. And he would be there with his wife, and sometimes his son would join. And that meant a lot to me, to be sitting and dining with them, because my parents separated when I was really young.
Oh.
So the day before I was supposed to leave, it kind of hit me that, wow, this is something I've wanted. I've wanted just to sit together with my parents, and I've not really had that. And back then I also had this idea of things are not permanent, relationships are not permanent, keep moving and becoming something else. So this idea was like, okay, wait, then I'm not looking for a family, or maybe I'm looking for permanence in relationships. And I was in Czech Republic, in Prague, at a hostel, and there was this girl from the US, and we happened to talk, and I told her about how this happened in Bulgaria and what I felt. And you know what? She said the most beautiful thing. And she's like, this is what she said, that I feel that permanence exists, and it exists in your relationship to yourself. And that was such an eye-opener. You always have to cater to yourself.
Yes.
Right, you have to. Because I used to think that, okay, I want permanence, but permanence doesn't exist. That was a great way to connect that, okay, it's got to be within.
Right.
And then I met someone else in Germany, and we were talking about all of this. And he's like, I was about to tell you, man, that find home in your heart. And again, that just hit a chord. So when we talk about home, I think it's all of this. It's home is in between conversations. Home is meeting somebody that feels good. Home is listening to a piece of music that you connect with, or watching a film that speaks to you.
A fragrance, a scent.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a house.
It's like, oh gosh, it reminds me of home.
Right, exactly. Yes. Something that just sits with you.
Yes. And
first of all, you have to be with yourself on that. Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
Well, one thing for being a partially, let's say, a global citizen, is that you speak multiple languages. So you're very comfortable speaking. Which couple of languages do you speak?
Right. So of course there's Hindi, which is from India. Then there's English, Spanish, because I lived over there. Bits of German and French, because I've spent time over there. I can understand bits of it. Working on learning them. And in India, there's like a plethora of languages. So the state I am has a language called Marathi, so I speak and understand that. The people I went in school with were Gujarati, so I understand that, don't speak it. And my dad was from his ancestors were from a state called Punjab, so I speak and understand Punjabi. But that's just really Indian languages.
Right.
And how early did you speak like English? How long did you speak?
I think that was the first language I picked up since I was in the UK. So right. Although I was only there for 3 months, but I guess my parents would naturally speak in English being over there. So I guess that's the first one that I picked up.
You picked it. Oh, okay.
Right.
And so, like, as you've traveled around to different countries, how many countries have you been to altogether, you think?
I would say 12 to 13, something around that.
Wow.
And it's easy enough to get around these countries with just your one passport? Like,
the passport is fine. The visas can be.
Oh, right.
Right.
All right.
Explain the situation with a visa. What's a visa?
Right. A visa is a permit that a country grants you to visit or to work or even transit through the
Right.
country. Right.
Because you oftentimes work there too. So you have a working visa, right?
That's a very different visa.
Right.
Absolutely. So I understand that if you're from the States, you can go to the Europe for 90 days in every 90-day period. As an Indian, I need to contact the consulate, tell them why I'm going there, provide them evidence of my income, provide them evidence of my stay and my travel, and then they'll possibly,
So what color is your passport?
Sorry?
What color is your passport?
It's blue.
Oh, you got a blue passport.
Yeah, let me show you that. It's right over here.
Don't show us no sensitive numbers, but you can show
us.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
You get hacked.
Blue color passport.
You get hacked.
Right.
But look, you told us a lot of great stories. Just tell us, like, have there ever been any sketchy stories from Vietnam? Like, what was your worst moment? Where was you like trembling and in fear? You're like, this is gonna end like one of those bad movies. Like, was there ever a time like that?
There were a few times when I felt like, okay, this is not going well. I'll tell you the funny one first before I get to a little more serious one. So when we were in Singapore, this friend, I was there with a friend of mine, right? And initially, and then he left and I stayed back. So the last night that we thought we'll be, flying out where I stayed and he flied, we thought that we won't stay at the relative's place that we were staying at. We're gonna be out all night and we'll party, we'll go check out there's some amazing rides over there. So we were under the impression that it's open all night. Turns out everything shuts at 2:00. So now it's 2:00 and we don't know anything where we should be going, what should we be doing. And so we decided to put up right over there on the street. And we passed out at the street and I was 21 back then. So it was kind of exciting and thrilling. Like, oh wow, we just staying out on the street, because you don't do that stuff in Mumbai. You don't want to do that in Mumbai.
No, that's like in Manhattan. No. The Bronx.
I mean, not that bad. There are places where they're open all night. There are definitely places where you don't want to be in Mumbai and in New York that I know.
Right.
Okay. Well, what was the other situation though, Shubra?
The other situation was I was in Budapest at a hostel, and when I checked into the hostel, there was no one in the room. There was no person in the room, but I saw that a bed was occupied. And I checked in and I checked out. I checked in and I left the room. I was out for the day. And when I came back to the room, there was police in the room.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, maybe, it's might be something gone bad. And so the manager comes up to me and he's like, there has been a theft in the room. And when the theft happened, around the theft happened, you were the only person who had checked in, so we'll have to frisk you. I'm like, okay, go do that, whatever your procedure is. So the guys go through my stuff. The police takes my passport, and I'm like, okay, if I get in trouble, this is going to be a big one. But thankfully, it turned out all fine. It didn't escalate. The guys found their money somewhere, and it was fine. It was, but I mean that was a taste of what could have gone wrong, and that was pretty scary. Yeah,
because anything could have happened, and once they take that passport, you're kind of out there, right?
Right, true that.
And you never like lost your passport or anything like that.
No, thankfully no. But I've had my stuff stolen. Yeah, and that's a heads up. A lot of places, you want to be careful. Like, people are nice and all that, but you want to be careful because people can identify when you're from abroad. It's easy to pick out somebody, And this happened when I was shooting in Barcelona. During the shoot, I had my bag stolen, and thankfully I did not have the camera in the bag. The camera was with me. And it's a very common thing actually in Barcelona to have your stuff stolen. It's a very safe city. You won't get mugged or killed or anything, but you'll have your stuff stolen. And it's
That's the consolation. They won't kill you, they will take your stuff.
I'll tell you what. So it gets stolen in the afternoon. I go to the cops in the evening, and there's a long queue in front of me, right? And the queue is not straight. The queue takes a turn like this because everyone wants to see what's happening with the guy in front of them. Mm-hmm. And by the time you reach the counter and the police officer speaks to you, they don't ask you what happened. They tell you what happened. They said, "Oh, you had your phone stolen?" And I'm like, yeah. And then, oh, okay, fill this form up. So it's a very common thing. You just want to be careful about these things.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because you do have to be discerning with people, because you have a lot of people that are very charming.
Absolutely.
And pretend that they have this image and things of that nature. And then that's how, a lot of even sex trafficking things can happen, because you're like, oh, hey, yeah, you want to go to a party and so there's certain things that you should not do when it comes to traveling, especially if you're traveling by yourself, traveling alone. I traveled alone to Mexico, and that was my first time ever traveling by myself. And what I did was, when I went out on an excursion, I would keep a tape recorder in the room and tape where I went. So this police, I left at 2:30. I'm going to so blah, 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 just in case, because I'm in a different country by myself.
No, absolutely. That is needed. And since you speak of Mexico, I forgot of a very interesting story. I was in Mexico as well, in the capital, with two of my other friends. And it so happened that I had taken a Mexican phone number, and it had a news service that came complimentary with it. So every day I would get news updates in Spanish on my phone. And this one day we are out, and I get a message that El Chapo, the drug lord, his son has been captured by the police. And I said, okay. And an hour later, I get another update saying 8 people die in a crossfire between El Chapo's gang and the police. And so I look it up because it's happening in the city. And it's literally like 10 minutes away from where we were. So I didn't tell the other guys, and I'm like, let's just go back home. I'm feeling tired and whatever. I get back home, and I'm like, dude, there's like some major stuff going on. And it was so bad that the president, if I'm not mistaken, had to announce that the police will let go of the son, because that could have escalated to an even worse thing, and innocent people would die in that. Yeah.
So next news report was El Chapo gets released. El Chapo's son gets released by the police.
Right.
Wow. No, but that it's very interesting hearing these international travel stories and just stories of different things around the world. And lastly, before we go, like, what are just a few quick things you notice from culture to culture that might be different? Like, it's like food, obviously, but then there's like speech and the way people what's some of the biggest differences you see between how people act internationally? Is there any common things that you think are like really different among cultures? How people greet each other, or where they sleep at night, or
I think I've noticed this with food, that I think I used to always think that back in India, there's a big community that eats at like 6 or 7 in the evening, and there's a big chunk of people who eat at like 10 or 11. And I've seen that with a lot of Europeans. They end up eating early in the evening. And that was interesting to see how also there is a cycle that your body follows of sleep, of eat, of when you want to wake up, when you feel like doing things and working. And it's interesting. And greetings especially, it somehow just I found that people, when they greet me, they just join the hands and say namaste. I'm like, all right, that's very kind. That is very, because when I go to people's houses in India, I don't join my hands. I give a high five or say hello to them. It's an interesting thing to see that, and I think the world overall is welcoming, and you have to believe in the goodness of world and life. But of course, you want to be wary of who you trust. You can't be a pessimist and go around, because then that's how your experiences will be. You have to go out thinking that it's going to be an adventure, it's going to be fun, and some bad experiences are kind of needed to kind of, tint and add a bit of hue to your experience, because everything is goody, but something off just kind of makes the goody even better, I guess.
Right. Let's put the website one more time. His website.
Okay, definitely. And just also tell us, because like you mentioned to me earlier that one of the ways that you're able to communicate in other countries is because a lot of those other countries speak English. So like English definitely is like a common language in a lot of different countries.
That's a thing that it's so underestimated, that certain countries don't speak English or certain countries do speak English. Right? It's a big misconception that, if you go to Southeast Asia or India, how will you communicate? A decent amount of people speak in English. Right. At least in India you can communicate. But I've been to places like some places in France, some places in Spain, where it was tough to communicate. Right, and you have to either rely with Google Translate, because Google Translate can mess things up big time. Right, or you just work with gestures.
Yeah, right. Sign language. Right.
Sign language.
That's it.
That's universal. What time of
right.
When they eat, right?
Yeah.
So Shubra, for all of our listeners on the radio, on Spotify and iHeartRadio, could you just read them the websites just in case they want to see your documentary films?
Right.
If they wanted to try to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
If they're in Barcelona, they want to say hi.
Why not? Barcelona, Berlin, wherever. And I'm most happy to chat and share experiences, and
wonderful.
a part of me has been also I wouldn't say formally teaching, but definitely in whatever sense I can guide, because I have a lot of people who ask me, how did you get into filmmaking, how's it going? And you will have people who tell you it's a bad field, it's a tough field, it's this and that, and I think that's where Don Cheadle comes in for me. He said that he said that a lot of people come up to me and ask me that, hey Don, should I be an actor? And I tell them, no, you should not be an actor. If there's something else you can do that. And if you can get dissuaded by me saying this, you should not become an actor in the first place. Right? So you have to follow your heart, your grit. You have to keep that in place.
That is true.
Right.
Right. So read them your website, so just in case they can't see it on the screen.
Yeah. It's ShubraVanditFilms.com. That's ShubraVandit Films, FILMS.com. And you have Rastafari.com as well. And the wardrobe of Rastafari is on Instagram. The Instagram account is Rastafari Wardrobe. That's a wardrobe means a clothing line, not the actual cabinet, because Kurt and I, when we were chatting, we thought I made cabinets, and I'm like, no.
Put that in, Lisa, you never heard so I put that inside the wardrobe?
Yeah,
get my pants out of the wardrobe.
Yes.
Yeah. Like get my pants out of the wardrobe.
I knew what you were talking about.
I swear I thought he meant they built cabinets and stuff. I thought that's what he meant at first. I was like, okay, whatever. Like people do a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I didn't know what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So, my bad.
Oh gosh.
So definitely, man. Shubra, it's always so great to catch up with you, man. And me and Shubra go way back. Yeah, we go
Absolutely.
back about, I don't know, about 10, 15, over 10, 14 years or so.
15, definitely
Yeah,
15. Yeah,
15
yeah.
years back.
Yeah.
We go back when Shubra was still a teenager and stuff, and I was
Right.
Wow.
hosting something called the Worldwide Cipher, something similar to what we're doing right now. But this is like
Absolutely.
maybe like a year after YouTube got off the ground, so they weren't nowhere. Nobody even really knew about YouTube back then.
Right.
So we were just doing something on the internet. It was before people started calling it podcasts and all that stuff. And we got together over our common love of hip hop.
Wow.
And we used to be in the group with a lot of other people from around the world, Germany, Spain, and London, and Canada, and all Brazil, and all different kinds of places around the world. We used to talk about hip hop and talk about a lot of different knowledge and things that were going on in the world at large and stuff. So it's been fun, like, because we started out as these guys.
That's
We
that same
started
motorcycle guy. He's been driving down the street all week. I'm like,
all
who
week
is he?
because
Who is
it
that
got
guy?
warm. Because it got warm. But like we took something that we we just knew each other from the internet. Like that's all.
Oh,
I never met him in person till like maybe a
Yeah.
couple of years ago when we first met up when he came to New York one time.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So we were like friends for years, just
Mhm.
virtually.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we talked so long. We used to meet on Sundays for 3 hours every Sunday. You know what I mean? For years. You know what I mean?
And
So
that shaped my thinking a lot.
Oh,
What Kurt did, and I think that absolutely Kurt was one of the few first inspirations that allowed me to think globally. Because through his
wow.
network, apart from of course what he spoke about, the people we connected with was like, wow, there's somebody from Germany who's into hip hop, or somebody from Spain who's into
Oh,
hip hop.
yeah.
And everybody's bringing their own perspective, and Kurt was conducting the entire thing and really
Wow.
walking us through, and be it hip hop, be it comedy, and just weaving all of that through the how everything is connected,
Yes.
right? And that really, wow, that made me think that, hey, it's
Wow.
just a big world, and you have to
It is so
take it
true.
in.
experience.
Absolutely experience. That's it.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Shubra, for
Yes.
coming
Thank
with us
Thank you,
tonight.
Kurt, and thank you,
you. It's
Lisa.
been wonderful meeting you. And
Cheers.
thank
It's
you
been a
for coming
pleasure.
to
Thank
Urban
you.
Suite. Thank you
Right.
so very much. Let's put that website up one more time.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
Just for our audience, just so they can get
Yes.
in contact
Shubra
with you,
Vandit
just in case they had a
Films.com.
question. And they can
S,
actually see like the documentaries as well. Like you can
right.
watch the
Yeah.
documentaries there.
Right.
We can.
SHUBHRAVANDIT films FILMS.com. Yes. So I'm doing it slow for people like me.
You can't see too fast when you try to,
Right. I'm
what I
like,
mean?
say that again. I gotta rewind. Wait, rewind. Like,
Okay. All right.
all
Well,
right. Thank
definitely,
you so
Shubra.
much.
Whenever you're in town, you got to stop by, bring us your latest,
Definitely.
tell us your latest stories from the
Absolutely.
road. Make sure you send us
Absolutely.
Yes.
some
Now, when are
footage
you
as
going
well.
back? Or what is your next destination before we let you go?
Next destination is Berlin. I've got a film I'm going to be on the production side of, so that should be happening. But again, that the timeline is kind of still in the making. So once we
Mhm.
know that,
And how long are you here in New York for?
again, that depends on that. But I would say a couple of weeks, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Right.
you'll be here to enjoy the nice weather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
right.
starting to get
Spring in New
warm. I'm
York.
liking that. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thanks a lot,
Good.
Shubra.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Cheers.
God
Have a
bless.
great
All right.
All right.
evening. Thank you again.
Yeah, take care.
Wow. You know, I stayed at a hostel.
For real? You did
Yes,
that?
I did that
Why? You
because I
wasn't
moved
scared?
from, no, but let me tell you, this is an interesting story. I moved from DC to New York, and my apartment in Brooklyn wasn't ready. So a friend said, "Oh, you have to stay in this
Oh,
hostel." And it was across the street
ugh.
from Central Park. It was very clean. It was very
That would
clean.
have scared
I
me
did
though.
no, I wasn't scared. You're young. You're like, oh, and
Not scared.
I was early 20s, I guess, and I came up here by myself, and I didn't share a room. It was a single room. So
Mhm.
what scared me was, why did I do this? I was reading a Stephen King book called Needful Things at the time. My God, now that was the scary thing, being in the hostel reading a Stephen King book. Like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, oh my gosh. Like, seriously, I remember that hostel. I remember the bathroom was very clean. It smelled like bleach. Um, yeah, I
But you
do.
saw
I
that?
was like,
Did you heard about those movies? Those hostile movies, those right? Have you ever seen one of those movies?
I have
Like
not,
a
and thank
horror
God.
movie? Oh Lord, you don't want to see
No,
that and then go stay at
no,
a
I
hostel.
don't.
No,
I
it's the
did that.
worst. It's the worst. The worst possible scenario that can happen to somebody. That's what happens in that movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm like, why am I reading this Stephen King book in a
Yeah.
hostel? Like, oh my gosh. So the
Yeah.
first couple of nights, well, the first 2 nights, I really couldn't sleep. I was like, I have to put this book down, but I couldn't stop reading it. And then my
Yes.
apartment was ready. So then that was fine. But yeah, I did. I have to say, I stayed in a hostel. I'm so proud of myself. That should be a t-shirt. I stayed in a
Uh,
hostel.
wow.
Because a lot of
That's a great.
Americans don't know what a
No,
hostel
no, yeah.
is.
Right. And lastly, I'll say that like when I did go to meet Shubra a couple weeks ago, and when he was in Brooklyn at the hostel, it was a lot of interesting people in that area too, like all around it and everything. A lot of very interesting looking people. Looked like they had a lot of stories and stuff.
You're so
So
nice, Curtis.
no,
You're
I'm just saying that people looked they looked into it was interesting. It was very,
so
like it
nice.
didn't seem like Brooklyn. It didn't seem like Brooklyn. It seemed like,
It seemed
like
like
it
what,
just
Curtis?
like people had a lot of stories to tell. I'll just say that. A lot of people they had stories like of travel, of world travel. And
Oh,
and it was fun, man. It was fun, So I haven't been able to travel like that. Because of
oh, I
circumstances and everything like that. And again, I just like in 2019, pretty much I would say was like the first time I actually um felt like I didn't have to take care of other people and stuff that I
oh,
could
wow.
even
Mhm.
think about doing something like that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like so,
Mhm.
but then the pandemic happened. So then you're like,
Right.
then all lockdown and everything happened. So I was like, oh, because I was even contemplating the idea of like maybe traveling to different places, seeing that as though now I had the opportunity again. But then the
Right.
pandemic happened, and then now we're here. So I never
Well,
got
you
an
know what?
opportunity to travel yet.
What just came on my Facebook was last year my best friend and I we traveled cross country from California to DC.
Mm, mm,
That was amazing. I mean, I think every person should experience that because we went
oh
from
yes, definitely.
LA to Phoenix with cacti, and then we crossed into New Mexico, and then there were pine trees. It was just like what it
Yeah.
just the landscape totally changed soon as you sort of like cross the border. And when
Yeah.
Schubert was talking about that, like how the cultures change, the food changes, it's
Hmm.
sort of like the environment changes. It
Hmm.
was just like we're in the midst of this orange desert in Arizona, and then we cross over into Mexico, and maybe 10, 15 miles into Mexico, you have pine trees.
Hmm. Yeah,
It was
I actually was able to travel cross country by train when I
uh-huh,
was on tour with KRS. So we
uh-huh.
took the up top route
Oh,
where you
you
go
did
to,
the up top. Okay.
yeah, we do Colorado and like the
Yeah.
Rocky Mountains, and you come up through but we ended up going through excuse me, Las Vegas as well. But you go like that's where you go to Chicago and all those
Right.
states
Yes.
up
You did
top,
that. Yes.
Iowa, all places you would never think of ever being.
Yeah. It was fantastic. Yeah. We went the southern route. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did
And it's
the
way better than flying over it too, because you get to actually see the country and stuff that you're going through. Like you get
right.
to see what's really out there. And honestly, I'll say that I appreciated cities a lot more once you drive through the middle of nowhere, Utah. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a train track and just nothing but just rocks and
Yeah.
like
Right. I'm
high
like,
desert plains. Like like people actually live out here somewhere. Like,
Right. And
nah,
a
bro.
Walmart.
Give
There's
me
a
a city.
Walmart
Give me
everywhere.
like,
I'm
give
like,
me a
oh my,
city. I
there's a
need
Walmart
bodegas.
everywhere. You turn the corner and there's a Walmart. I'm like, but there are no houses. Like, what?
Yeah, but there's places that are really like out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even in up in Colorado and stuff like that, people live out like far from like there's miles from the next neighbor and stuff. I can't really live like that,
Well,
man.
see,
I need a city.
that's why people have guns.
You need it because ain't no police coming to save you from nothing.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Ain't no police gonna come screeching around the
There's
corner
no
try
police
to save
coming.
you. No. Yeah, you got to
No, no,
protect
no,
yourself out
no.
there. And I'm just saying, even from bears and all kinds of huge
Yes.
animals out there. So nah,
Yeah.
all these little hard rocks on the corners on Compton or wherever and Bronx or whatever. Y'all don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere, Utah. Y'all
That's
ain't that
right.
hard. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't trying to be out in them corners. Not at all. You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
telling you. Oh my
So
gosh. But yeah, traveling is it's I love it. I
yeah,
I
so
I
that's why I
love it.
just wanted to give people some inspiration that are just sitting around like, what's my next move? Or like trying to think of what they could do to enhance their lives and stuff. And everybody just going to the gym every week. Maybe you should travel.
Well,
Think
a
about
lot of
traveling.
people that we work with, our clients, they have never left Newark.
Right. Yeah, I've met people like that. Like,
Yeah.
they've never really, because look, let's face it. If you live in Newark, you got access to everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anything that you could ever want, clothes, food, this, that, the third, you could get it around here somewhere. Because if Newark doesn't have it, somebody bought it in New York and brought it back over to Newark.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna get everything here, but you never left. You never went to the beach.
Never
Never went to
know.
the
No.
mountains. Never
They
went
didn't
to a
even go to
park.
Manhattan. They've never even been across the bridge.
Yeah, I know. I know people specifically like that. Like the first time we took certain groups of MCs over to New York for one of our road trips, one of them remarked, like, yo, this is the first time I've ever been out of Newark. This is the first time I've ever been
Oh
to New York
my
City.
God. I can't
Yeah,
imagine.
like, wow. Like,
I
wow.
cannot imagine. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of it has to do with finances,
Hmm.
finances, and maybe fear, and perhaps how they grew up. Perhaps their family never traveled. And it's sort of like, it reminds me of someone in a bubble. You're just
Yeah.
in this bubble, and then you hit this, you hit the bridge and you just turn back because you don't want to go any further.
But it's like what Shubra said, though, it's getting out of your comfort zone. Like
Right.
once you get out your comfort zone, you learn so much. You have all of these crazy, interesting experiences.
Right. Well, that's
After
why
you
I
get
wanted
out
to
of
travel and go to Mexico by myself because I had never done that. And I was like, I
wow.
have to go somewhere by myself. And I
Okay,
had a wonderful time. And I
that's
found
great.
out I really like myself.
Okay, that's great. See,
No.
but that's what he also said that like the permanence is with yourself. Like you have to
Yes, right.
this whole life journey is really understanding yourself in that sense. You know what I
That
mean?
is
You got to try
correct.
to understand who you are as a person, and that's the
Yes.
person that you have to be comfortable with for the rest of your life. Other
Yes.
people, you might get mad and this and that, and therefore, family members, all that. But the person that you always have to be comfortable with and make amends with is yourself, that person in the mirror.
That is correct. That
Or
is
else you just
correct.
start
And
going
that's
down a crazy spiral, mental health issues and start
yeah.
coming once you start
Yep.
lying and about who you are,
Yep.
to yourself. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I enjoyed traveling by myself. It was fun. But I have to say my favorite traveling partner, I will have to say, is Sean. Sean
Yeah.
is a hoot when we go traveling. Oh my God. I can't keep him still. He's up
Well,
in the
that's
country
good.
line. I'm like, where is my husband? He's talking to people. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's like, can you pipe
But
it
see,
calm down?
that's better than going by yourself, though, man. I don't trust all that, man. There's too much stuff happening. I wouldn't. I don't know. I don't like that idea. It's just
Really?
too much.
I wouldn't mind doing it.
I mean, Shu was a seasoned traveler. He knows all the ins and outs and knows how to get in and out of that type of sticky situations. I'm sure by now. But
Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah,
eh,
I'm very cautious, especially as a female. Like that's why I said
yeah,
I would tape recorder and let, because at that time, I don't know if people had a lot of cameras around.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going by myself with some tour.
And that could be anything.
Right, yeah. So I left my little recorder. This is Lisa. I'm leaving at so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm going with so-and-so, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because
you gotta be safe.
You have to be safe. You have to be safe. So, yeah. Well, this was a great show tonight.
Yeah, so wrap it up. Take us up out of here.
Oh, my goodness. My brain is done. So, anyway, I was really thinking about traveling when you said that. I was like going back to Mexico, I'm like Hawaii, like all these other places.
Yeah, that's true. You have
London,
been to a lot of these.
Like, oh my gosh, I've been.
And Sean was born in London, right?
He was born in London. He actually wants to go back to London. He wants to move back. I don't mind because I loved London. I love London. I've been several times. The first time I went to London, I was in high school. And I fell in love with it. And I said, I'm going to move back here somehow. I don't know. This place is calling. And I had no idea that my husband would have a heart of like an affinity to London. And so my son actually went to visit his family prior to the pandemic. It was January 2020. He went to London because my cousin also she lives in France. So he went to London and visited my cousin in France. And that's where he came up with the idea or the decision that he made that he wanted to be a lawyer because she's an attorney, her husband's an attorney, and he stayed with them for I think a week or so. And yeah, I loved it. Now I have to say I'm not a big fan of France. I'm not at all. Not at all. If you don't speak the language, they're just.
That's what Shubra was saying. That like there's parts of France they're like they ain't playing all that. We speak American type or speak English.
Yeah, they're like if you're gonna speak but bye. I'm like okay. I'm like, okay. I know what that is, so that's all right. So I'm not.
Au revoir.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So that's what we got. So let's give them the au revoir tonight. Tell them what they our motto here for Urban Tools for Change.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you, my guys, my urban knights, for entering into the urban suite with us, Dr. Lisa Lacan and Kurt Nice, on this special edition, traveling around the world, talking about our experiences in the urban suite, because as always in the urban suite, this is the place where you laugh, learn, cry, and grow. God bless. Safe travels. Good night. And Molly, take us away.